I never imagined that a job would lead me to win a millionaire's heart. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It started like any other Wednesday at the little cafe on Fifth Avenue. I was just trying to serve coffee, to keep my head down and make rent. But that day, fate had other plans. As the bell jingled above the door, my heart raced. In walked a man who seemed wrapped in mystery. His sharp suits, perfectly styled hair, and an air of confidence tangled with an undeniable darkness made my breath catch. His eyes scanned the cafe. They were piercing, as if searching for something or someone. I could feel my palms sweat, the heat creeping up my cheeks. He settled into the corner booth, a silhouette against the sun pouring through the window. I had never seen anyone like him, it felt surreal. Was he really here, in my little world filled with chipped mugs and fading dreams? At first, I thought he was just another customer. But the cafe buzzed with whispers, and I caught snippets of conversations. "He's the billionaire investor," someone murmured. "He doesn't just visit here, he owns the building." My heart raced. What could a man like him want with a barista like me? As I approached him, carrying a steamy cup of black coffee, my heart thudded in my chest. "What can I get for you?" I asked, my voice trembling. His gaze locked onto mine, intense yet calm, and for a moment, the world melted around us. "Just this, for now," he replied, his voice deep and smooth, sending shivers down my spine. I couldn't look away, his presence was magnetic. Days turned into weeks. He came back, always sitting in that same booth. We exchanged smiles, small talk, but never delved deeper. I could feel the weight of something unspoken between us. I was drowning in my mundane life, but he was a beacon of unattainable luxury. I dreamt of him, longed for his attention, and with every hesitant rush of adrenaline, felt hope flutter in my chest. Then, it happened. The cafe had a slight buzz of excitement that morning. Something felt different. Whispers raced through the air, "He's going to announce something big today." I couldn't shake the feeling of impending change. My heart was pounding against my ribcage as I wiped tables and poured coffee nervously. The moment arrived. Through the door, he marched in, confidently. With a single wave, he silenced the chatter. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice booming. I stood frozen, eyes wide, not understanding the whirlwind stirring in my chest. He was going to change everything. When he mentioned a new venture, I caught my breath. "I'm looking for a partner." The air thickened. Someone who can think outside the box. Someone unpredictable. My heart skipped. It felt like he was looking straight at me. But who was I? Just a girl with glowing dreams lodged in her chest. I watched, hardly breathing, as he continued. "Someone to help me break the mold," he said, and the cafe fell silent. A palpable tension wrapped around us. Was I imagining it, or was there an electric connection sparking between us? Did I dare hope he meant me? Before I could gather my thoughts, he stepped closer and said, "Maybe that someone is right here." My heart raced, suffocating under the weight of possibility. What did he mean? The mystery hung heavy, and I was paralyzed by a mix of fear and thrill. A million questions spiraled in my mind. What if I said yes? What if I stepped into his world? Everything screamed uncertainty. But perhaps, just perhaps, this was my chance to escape. Just then, the cafe door swung open with a crash. A woman entered, her presence electrifying, and I felt my heart drop. Who was she? And why did she look familiar? As I glanced back at him, I saw something flicker in his eyes, a glimpse of reality I didn't want to accept. The day I thought would change my life suddenly twisted into something darker. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference, let's connect. The chaos enveloping the cafe seemed to pause, as if the room held its breath. The woman, clad in a bright red dress that seemed to clash with the muted tones of my world, approached with confidence. Her long hair cascaded down her back, framing a face I recognized from countless glossy magazine covers. The glint in her eyes sparked jealousy deep within me, a feeling I had sworn to resist. She was the kind of beautiful that turned heads, even in a bustling cafe, and at that moment, my heart sank that he turned towards her, and for an instant, I saw the warmth in his gaze shift. Reality must have crashed into my daydream because every ounce of excitement drained from my body. Sophia! He exclaimed, his demeanor transforming, exuding a brightness that momentarily blinded me. The familiarity between them was palpable, a history woven between their smiles and the ease of their banter. I slipped back, wiping a table mindlessly as my heart fractured. I felt invisible, fading into the backdrop of their reunion. Their laughter echoed, and every note seemed to amplify my doubts. I was merely the girl behind the counter, destined to serve coffee to those basking in the glow of stardom. My pulse raced, and with every swap of their glances, I felt my chance slipping away. What are you doing here? He asked, genuine surprise mixed with a hint of joy. I was in the area and thought I'd check in on you, she replied, her voice lilting with playful charm. I couldn't shake the feeling of being an interloper in this reunion, yet I pretended to busy myself, internally screaming at the world to make this moment vanish. The offerings of a partnership hung heavy in the air, but suddenly, it felt ludicrous to even entertain the thought. 4 weeks of building dreams shattered like glass on a tiled floor, leaving only remnants of hope strewn about in jagged pieces. Half-heartedly, I glanced up to find him looking at me, as if acknowledging my presence through the veil of their incident. We can discuss everything later, he said, a hint of discomfort edging into his tone as if aware that I was drowning in the wake of his reunion, yet my facade held. I managed a smile, serving up the tunes of joy despite feeling as though I was wilting inside. In little pieces, I pieced together the fragments of my heart, every moment reminding me that I was never meant to be a part of his world. As Sophia continued to chat effortlessly, I poured another cup of coffee, pouring all my unspoken words and fears into the steaming brew, but just as despair knotted around me, a moment of kindness emerged unexpectedly. A group of college students entered and chose the booth next to mine, laughing and reminiscing over shared memories. One of them, a girl with a vibrancy that reminded me of summer days, caught my eye. She flashed me a wide smile, one filled with a kind of genuine warmth I hadn't felt in weeks. Can we get the specialty? What's your recommendation? She asked, a light in her voice that kindled something inside me. I blinked back, tears tasting the salt of my own misery as I realized that kindness still existed in unexpected places. You should try the lavender latte. It's just the right amount of sweetness with a hint of calm, I replied, suddenly invigorated by my role. As I prepared their drinks, I caught sight of my own reflect. I own a girl clinging to hope amid chaos. Perhaps I could find a connection, a momentary reprieve amidst the tidal wave of uncertainty. I set their drinks before them, and as laughter echoed once more, I managed a more genuine smile. The tension in the cafe shifted again when the mysterious woman leaned closer to him, her voice dipping into a conspiratorial whisper. I could only catch snippets of their conversation, and my heart lurched with every intriguing word. He looked even more entranced, hanging on to her every syllable, while I busied myself in the back. I felt the loss ripping through my conviction. I thought I could be the unexpected partner he sought, yet here he was, enraptured by the light she emitted, just when I thought I couldn't bear it any more. The bell above the door rang again. An older man with an air of authority marched in, sweeping his gaze through the cafe. I noticed the hushed silence fall once more. Something in his stance screamed urgency, and he exuded an energy that darkened the previously warm atmosphere. Robert, he called, walking directly towards him. Their eyes locked, and a mix of tension and uncertainty passed between them. The casual banter from moments before shifted into an undercurrent of dread. Something important has come up, the man continued, his tone low and serious, and we need to discuss it immediately." The words hung ominously in the air, infusing the room with a sense of foreboding. I could feel the atmosphere shift, engulfing everything in its wake, leaving me grasping for answers that seemed just out of reach. The million-dollar question lingered on my lips: was this the end of my dreams, or merely a twist in a tale I hadn't written yet? And just as the tone deepened with uncertainty, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I slid it out, my breath hitching as I read the message. "We need to talk. I have something to tell you." It was from him, the billionaire who had unknowingly captivated my heart, the very man whose world I now feared to step into. My heart raced. What could this mean? Was hope reigniting, or was it merely leading me into the depths of an unseen abyss? I stood paralyzed, torn between longing and trepidation, knowing that the next chapter awaited. The ding of the shop's bell echoed again, pulling me back from the clutches of uncertainty. The man in authority stepped aside, revealing a younger woman whose expressive eyes were wide with concern. Her dark curls framed her face and hinted at a blend of resilience and challenge, two qualities I understood only too well. "Is everything all right?" she asked Robert, her voice tight as if she were tethered to a worry that weighed heavily on her chest. The energy shifted just a fraction, the air thick with unspoken words and a desperation that seemed to grasp at all of us. "I'll be right back," he replied, his tone measured but his gaze betraying a sense of urgency. I watched in silence as he followed the man and the woman outside, curiosity kindling against my will. That was the moment everything within me held its breath, suspended between despair and fleeting hope. While my heart raced, my mind began to whirl with questions. What could have caused such urgency? And why did I care so deeply? The laughter from the college students faded into the distance, replaced by the sound of my own anxious thoughts, each one drowning out the possibility of joy. But as I stood behind the counter, performing my mundane tasks, the vibrancy of the girl from the booth lingered in my mind. Her smile had been like a balm, soothing the fresh wound Sophia had inflicted. I tried to remember that simple joy, to channel her infectious spirit. I reached for a bottle of syrup, drizzling it over the next steaming cup, allowing the aroma to momentarily distract me from the turmoil outside. Then my gaze drifted back to the door, hoping to glimpse Robert's return, dreading the outcome. Each passing moment felt interminable, like a pendulum swinging between anxiety and longing. Just when I thought I'd lost sight of both him and hope, the bell chimed again, this time brighter. It was the vibrant girl from earlier, her friends trailing behind her as if she were a beacon guiding their way. "Hey!" she called, her spirit undeterred. "We decided to come back for more. You've got to let us know when that lavender latte is on the menu." Her enthusiasm broke through the fog surrounding me. I couldn't help but smile, allowing her warmth to suffuse through my heart like sunshine breaking through clouds. "Of course. I'll make sure you know," I said, genuine appreciation lacing my voice. "Good. We love this place. There's something magical about it, don't you think?" She glanced around, her infectious energy shifting the atmosphere, reminding me of the quiet charm in chaotic moments. Just as I prepared their drinks, I realized that magic was not just beneath the surface, it existed in the loving connections we forged, in the simple exchanges of kindness. Maybe, just maybe, I could cling to that for a little longer, even if the chaos in my heart remained unresolved. But even as their laughter filled the air around me, it felt starkly juxtaposed against the silence of Robert's absence. I glanced outside, wishing for his return, for the fleeting moments we had shared to be rekindled amidst the stir of uncertainty. Then, without warning, the door swung back, and he stepped in alongside the woman, his expression schooled into neutrality, but I could see the shadow of turmoil flickering in his eyes. My heart raced as each step he took felt like a judgment against the backdrop of my quiet anguish. The atmosphere shifted again, the laughter from the booth dimming in the face of the tension that had returned. Standing before me, he cleared his throat. "Sorry about that," he said, the edges of his voice frayed with something unspoken. "We just had a conversation. My pulse quickened, and I felt as if the world teetered on the brink of a revelation. What had they discussed? Would it impact the fragile bond we started to weave together? Sensing the shift, the vibrant girl caught onto my unease. "Everything okay?" she asked, concern tinged with genuine care. It was a small moment, yet it felt like a lifeline being thrown my way, echoing the kindness I had just begun to rediscover. Robert glanced at me, the corner of his mouth twitched as if he wanted to assure me, but the tension in his eyes told a different story. We need to talk, just the two of us," he said, his voice almost hesitant that I didn't know whether to breathe in or out, the weight of unspoken questions threatening to suffocate me. The cafe dissolved around me, the laughter and chatter becoming muffled as if a veil had been drawn over reality. The vibrant girl gave me a gentle nudge, but I could only fixate on Robert, whose mere presence sparked something deep within my chest. As I nodded, the world tilted on its axis with the knowledge that everything I thought I understood was about to shift once more. A soft touch drew me from my thoughts. It was the vibrant girl clasping my hand for just a split second, her eyes sparkling with unfaltering encouragement. "Good luck," she whispered, and her voice pulled my heart into a hopeful embrace that somehow prepared me for what was to come. Then, before I even had the chance to deliberate, Robert turned, and I followed him outside, into the uncertain air, where the sky above might hold secrets that could either reshape my world or spill my heart into the abyss of despair. I felt the weight of anticipation in the pit of my stomach, growing heavier with each second. And yet, as I took that step forward, my phone buzzed once more, a notification from an unknown number. I hesitated, but curiosity won. The words flickered on the screen, cold and piercing, "I know what you did. The truth is out." My heart dropped. In that moment, it felt as though the ground beneath me had given way, leaving me suspended in fear, uncertainty, and a tremor of unexpected dread. The weight of the message hung in the air like a storm cloud, darkening the brilliant sun that had brightened my brief moment of levity with the vibrant girl. "I know what you did. The truth is out." Each word left its mark, digging into my chest like an unwanted shard of glass. Robert's gaze turned toward me, confusion mingling with concern. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice tinged with a protective urgency, but I could only shake my head, my thoughts spiraling. "That I got a message," I stammered, my fingers trembling as I extended the phone toward him. I couldn't keep the rising panic at bay, and his brow furrowed as he read the ominous text, the lines of his face deepening into a frown. "It's probably just spam," he suggested, but his eyes didn't meet mine. They were glued to my screen, studying it as if it contained the secret to understanding my heart. "That I don't think so," I replied, my voice dripping with trepidation. "What if they really know something? What if let's go somewhere quiet? We need to talk," he urged, the tension in the air thickening around us, drawing me closer into a heart of uncertainty. That I nodded, barely able to articulate the myriad of emotions colliding within me. So much had changed in just a matter of minutes. The comforting hum of the cafe faded as we stepped into the bustling street, the noise of the city blurring into an indistinct background. Every step I took felt heavy, each one a struggle against the swell of anxiety building inside me. That we found a small, tucked-away bench nestled beneath a gnarled tree that offered scarce shade. The world rushed past, uskers honked, sirens blared, and laughter faded into the distance, all while I sat in a bubble of apprehension. "What do you know?" Robert asked, fixing me with an earnest gaze that drew me in. I opened my mouth, the words tumbled forward, but they were caught like butterflies struggling against a net. "I've done things I'm not proud of," I whispered, feeling the cold tendrils of shame wrapping around my heart. "Things that could change everything. You deserve to know who I really am." Before Robert replied, his expression softened, as if he understood the turmoil roiling within me. "Whatever it is, I want you to know that I'm here, right now. We can figure this out together." His kindness wrapped around me like a warm blanket, yet the chill of the message lingered like a ghost. "But what if it's beyond fixing? What if I can't outrun my past?" The despair seeped through my words, and I could see that he was silently processing, his mind racing to keep up with the shifting tides. "Tell me what's going on," he insisted, leaning closer forward, his urgency almost palpable. "Please." That I closed my eyes, taking a steadying breath. The heartbeat throbbing in my ears masked the chaos around us. "A long time ago, I made some mistakes. I got entangled in something bad. I thought I'd escaped. But now I'm not so sure." Just as I mustered the courage to reveal my secret, the fervent hope I clung to for a better life flickered like a candle on the brink of being snuffed out. If this person knows if they were to expose me, it could end everything I've built here. I can't let that happen, Robert. I can't lose Thizio everything again. That he pulled back, his face inscrutable. The silence that settled between us was thick and suffocating, a chasm filled with unspoken fears and uncharted potential. Suddenly, I felt my phone buzz again, shattering the heaviness. My eyes grew wide as I retrieved the device, a new message lighting up the screen: "Don't ignore me. Meet me tonight if you want to keep your secrets safe." My heart raced, a tempest of anxiety and dread. I looked at Robert, who was watching me with a mix of concern and determination. "What does it say?" he pressed, his grip steady around my hand. "It's a threat," I breathed, my voice trembling as the realization sank in, flooding me with an overwhelming sense of dread. "They want to meet and they say they'll expose me. They have something on me, Robert. I can't let that happen. Not now, not when I finally have something to lose." His eyes darkened, a storm forming within them. "Then we'll figure it out together. We'll find a way to deal with this," he said firmly, but I could see a fleeting moment of doubt behind the strength of his words. The shadows of uncertainty loomed, growing more daunting and insurmountable. As I looked into his eyes, my heart ached for the warmth and love we had just begun to explore, now threatened by the shadows of my past. Would he still feel the same way if he knew everything? The world outside continued to spin wildly, but in this moment, time stood still as my thoughts circled back to the words I had always craved: trust, loyalty, partnership. But could I really allow myself to have that? And then, under the weight of the choice before me, I heard a voice whisper from deep within: a choice to plunge deeper into uncertainty or to return to the safety of hiding. But one thing was crystal clear: the truth had a way of revealing itself, and I could no longer run. "Meet me tonight," I said softly, a resolve igniting within me. Whatever awaited me in the darkness, I'd face it head on, for the flicker of hope that was igniting in my heart told me that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't in this alone anymore. The sky dimmed with twilight, shades of purple and blue intertwining like tangled ribbons, as I prepared for the confrontation that awaited me. My heart raced like a wild horse, each thump resonating louder than the last. Robert's steady presence, once a buoy in my rising tide of despair, now felt like an anchor, holding me back from plunging into the depths of what I feared would swallow me whole. "Maybe I shouldn't go," I whispered, the words barely escaping my lips as doubt crept in, gnawing on the fragile hope I had grasped onto earlier. "What if it's a trap? What if it's not just about the secrets?" "Then we'll find a way to deal with it," he reassured, his voice steady yet this time tinged with an edge of uncertainty. "But you can't face this alone." Not now. That I gazed at him, searching for assurance in his eyes. The flicker of kindness there was still alive, but shadows swam around it, hinting at the possibility of him turning away once he fully understood the weight of my past. I wanted to believe his words, but the lingering fear that once enveloped me tightened its grip once again. As night wrapped around the city, I arrived at the designated meeting spot, a dimly lit park bench underneath an old willow tree. The air was thick with tension, each breath a reminder of the choice that lay before me. I could still call it off, run back to the sanctuary of my seemingly perfect life crafted over the past few months. But with each passing moment, the snare of my former life tightened. My phone buzzed, shattering the freezing silence, and I fumbled to read the message. "You're late. I see you've brought someone with you." It was as if the darkness had eyes, watching my every move, the specter of my past morphing into a tangible threat. "Do you see anyone?" A voice hissed from the shadows, cutting through the air like glass shattering. A figure stepped forward, cloaked in darkness, as adrenaline coursed through my veins. I could feel Robert's presence behind me, radiating fierce protectiveness, but what could he do against the ghosts lurking in my past? "Nothing personal," the figure smirked, an unsettling gleam in their eyes. "But you've run long enough. It's time to reckon with your past. Your fancy new life means nothing if the truth surfaces." That I swallowed hard, my head spinning. "I don't know what you want," I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. "You've got what you need. Just leave me alone." But it's not about what I want, it's about what you fear. And I intend to expose all of it if you don't cooperate. The threat rang like a gavel, sealing my fate if I didn't utter the right words. Just as despair began to consume me, Robert stepped forward, his resolve unwavering. Let her go. You don't have to do this. You think you can scare her into submission, but she's stronger than you realize. The shadowy figure laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the night. Strength doesn't matter when the truth is a ticking time bomb, Robert. You think she can keep you safe? She'll implode, and you'll be caught in the blast. That my breath hitched as those words settled in. The weight of my past was not mine alone, it was now threatening to shake Robert's foundation. The truth was a storm brewing on the horizon, threatening the fragile sanctuary we had built. Don't involve him, I shouted defiantly, the fire of panic igniting within me. It's me you want. Just leave him out of this. The figure tilted their head, considering my plea. If you want to keep your secret safe, you know what you have to do. Find me in 1 week. Silence is key, or else. The message hung heavily between us, a shackle I had no choice but to wear. Before I could respond, the figure melted back into the shadows, leaving nothing but a lingering whisper of dread in their wake. That I felt Robert's hand grasp mine tightly. What did they say? He urged, concern and anger fighting for dominance in his voice. They know everything, Robert. I can't let it get to you. I have to handle this myself, I said, my voice trembling as I fought the tide of emotions threatening to drown me. No. You're not going through this alone, he replied, stubbornness shining through the cracks of his worry. I care about you, and I refuse to let you face this darkness without me. The warmth of his words momentarily chased away the chill that had seeped deep into my bones. But then the gravity of the situation crashed upon me like waves against a rocky shore. If I leaned on him, I risked hurting him even more. The truth loomed over us like a storm cloud. That in a week, he'll have to choose between my safety and your heart, I confessed, each word a blow to both of us. What if the truth tears us apart? His expression faltered for a moment, the weight of my admission hanging in the air like a spider's silk thread, delicate and fragile. Then we'll figure it out together, come what may, he countered, though a shadow of doubt began to cloud his features, a fracture in the trust that had begun to take root. As we stood there, wrapped in the haunting echo of what could be, the tension between us swelled, an unspoken rift growing wider. My heart ached for what lay ahead, and the knowledge that I was still trapped within the confines of my past. But then, just as the sky began to mourn under the cover of night, my phone vibrated again. Dread coursed through me as I looked down at the screen. It was another message, but this one sent ice through my veins. Don't make me spill your secrets to Robert. You know I won't hesitate. Choose wisely. The finality in those words slammed into me like a freight train, leaving no room for escape. My pulse quickened, the realization hitting me like an electric shock. Either I would risk losing everything, or I would shatter the fragile semblance of the life I had built in exchange for the truth. And as Robert gazed at me, uncertainty and concern etched across his face, I knew that one way or another, everything was about to change. The brisk night air wrapped around us like a cloak, enveloping the heavy silence that followed the chilling message. I felt the weight of it pressing against my chest, each erratic heartbeat echoing in my ears like a desperate warning. Robert's gaze bore into me, seeking clarity in the chaos swirling within my mind. I knew he could sense my turmoil, the fear thrumming beneath my fortified exterior. What does it say? He asked, his voice low but trembling with an urgency that shattered the stillness of the park. I hesitated, the anguish knotting my stomach. It's just I started, but the words caught in my throat, too jagged to escape without cutting us both. How could I relay the message of impending doom without shattering the fragile trust that had begun to weave its way between us? Please, he pressed, the fire in his eyes igniting a flicker of courage within me. You need to tell me. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. Exhaling shakily, I reluctantly held my phone out for him to read. As his eyes scanned the words, the expression on his face shifted, darkening with each syllable. This isn't just threats, he murmured, disbelief and frustration coursing through his veins. They want to destroy us. I swallowed hard, feeling the chilling truth wash over me. I have to go to them, Robert. I can't let them hurt you. I love you too much to drag you into this mess. He clenched his jaw as he processed my words, his hands tightening around mine as if solidifying a tether between us. You think I can stand by and watch you face this alone? I won't accept that choice. We don't have a choice, I replied, my voice trembling. Choosing to expose everything may save you from the fallout, but it might cost me my life. You deserve to be safe from my mistakes. He watched me, a storm of emotions brewing in his eyes. Love battled with anger, and the fear of what could happen coiled around both of us, weaving a heavy tapestry of uncertainty. You can't carry this burden by yourself, he insisted, the intensity of his words vibrating through the space between us. I don't know how to let you in, I whispered, the truth bittersweet on my tongue. What if my past tears us apart? Then we'll have to face that, he replied, unyielding. Darling, what's love if not the good and the bad? I refuse to run from this. But before I could respond, the shadows shifted, an unseen presence unfurled from within the darkness. A rustling sound approached us, and I turned to see a figure emerging, wearing the cloak of night like armor. Looks like the two lovebirds are having a heart-to-heart, the voice came, dripping with malicious irony. It was the same figure from before, returning like a ghost unwilling to let go that I instinctively stepped closer to Robert, every instinct screaming at me to protect him. I thought you left. I shouted, voice steadying itself amid the encroaching dread. We're not done here. I just wanted a front row seat to this pathetic display of affection, they taunted, a smirk dancing on their lips. You really think your love can shield you from the truths that crave light? That little notion is exactly why I'm here. What do you want? Robert growled, a protective energy radiating from him that steadied my racing heart. An answer to the ultimatum, the figure replied, gesturing with a fluid movement that sent shivers down my spine. 1 week is all you have. Decide then, and keep in mind that secrets can be deadly. I thrive on shadows, neither of you want to see what happens when those shadows catch up. And just like that, they vanished, leaving behind an echo of threat hanging heavy in the air. I turned back to Robert, who was visibly shaken, fists clenching at his sides. I won't leave you, he said finally, his voice filled with a new sense of resolve. We'll face this together, whatever it takes. The warmth of his words filled me with both gratitude and fear. I shook my head, frustration mounting. But do you understand? If I don't choose the truth, they'll unleash everything, and you'll be the one in peril. Suddenly, Robert stepped closer, his presence a grounding force amidst the storm swirling between us. And if I have to keep fighting to keep you safe, I will. There's something we can do, he murmured, his eyes reflecting a new fire of determination. We can find a way to turn the tables. You don't have to choose between love and truth, and I won't let you go through this without a fight. Tears brimmed in my eyes as I saw the desperation in his gaze, the fierce loyalty that fueled him. What do you propose? I whispered, my heart aching with the weight of impending decisions. Let's uncover what you've been hiding. If we can learn the details of your past together, we might be able to outsmart your ghosts before they surpass us, he proposed, and uncertainty settled within me as I comprehended the depths of our entangled paths. Are you ready for what that could mean? I asked, my heart thrumming with both fear and an irrational longing for hope. I don't have all the answers, but I want to be by your side. That's enough for me, he said, and somehow, in that moment, a flicker of courage ignited a fragile sliver of hope woven through the threads of our predicament. But as hope took root in my chest, the screen of my phone ignited once more, and my breath caught in my throat. As if mocking our attempt to gather strength, a new message blinked harshly against the darkness: time is running out. The truth is waiting to be unleashed. Make your choice soon. As the finality of those words settled into the marrow of my bones, my heart dropped. Each moment felt like a ticking clock, counting down to a revelation, and I understood then that the darkness that loomed wasn't just a threat, but also a catalyst that would either bring us closer or tear us apart irrevocably. And I found myself staring into the abyss wondering if love could truly weather this storm, or if we were destined to confront the impossible together amid the swirling chaos of secrets and shadows. The days that followed felt like a relentless cycle of dread and fleeting hope. Each morning brought the weight of the ultimatum closer, its presence an uninvited guest in our lives that lingered just beyond reach. Robert and I turned into detectives of our own histories, searching for clues amidst the remnants of my past. With every shared secret, every piece of history uncovered, I felt the shadows whispering louder, threatening to drown out any light we managed to find. That we spent hours in the dim light of my apartment, poring over old photographs and faded letters. Each item was a photograph of a time I had buried deep, moments I could no longer revisit without the icy fingers of fear curling around my heart. This was the last vacation I took with my family before everything fell apart, I murmured, tracing a finger over a picture where laughter danced in the air and innocence still lived. Robert leaned in closer, his warmth chasing away the specters that threatened to grasp my throat. "You were happy here," he said softly, and for a moment, I allowed myself to believe I could reclaim that happiness. But deep down, that charm was mired in the knowledge that all good things had come at a cost. "What happened after?" he prompted gently, his voice coaxing me back from the precipice of nostalgia. With a heavy heart, I remembered the fevered arguments, shouts mingling with tears, bonds snapping like fragile threads. My parents, it was like watching a ship sink. The closer they got to the truth, the more frightened they became, and that fear turned into despair. I swore I'd never let that happen again. That he rested a hand on my shoulder, grounding me. "You don't have to go back to that place alone. You're not that girl anymore. You're stronger, and I won't let your past define you." Yet, as those comforting words settled, I caught a glimpse of the all-too-familiar shadows lurking beyond the veil of hope. The thought of Robert being dragged into the tempest of my truths sent a chill through me. This was no mere romantic tale, it was a war zone where the heart and brute realities collided. Every evening fell heavy with unspoken fears, the darkness thickening around us like fog. The relentless ticking of the clock echoed in my mind, endlessly taunting me. I tried to focus on the love growing between us, but the weight of the impending choice hung sharper than a knife at my throat. Then, one fateful night, as Robert flipped through old newspaper clippings that I had tried to bury, a piece caught his eye. "This one," he said, his voice suddenly flat, the warmth draining from the air. "It's a report on the accident, the one you've spoken about." He handed it to me, and I felt my heart plummet into my stomach. That I glanced at the headline, the sterile words clawing at my throat. It was a stark reminder of the night that changed everything, the night I lost the life I knew. "It was just an accident," I whispered, trying to convince myself of the truth I wanted to believe. "It can't just be that simple," Robert pushed back gently, a storm brewing behind his eyes. "Your family, there has to be more to it. This can't just be a coincidence." My breath quickened, and panic clawed at my chest, forcing me to the brink of my hidden fears. "They were just drunk," I stammered, my voice trembling with every syllable. "They didn't know how to face what was happening, and then they left you." Robert's voice cut through my haze, a harsher reality surfacing in the shadows. "You can't keep shouldering the blame for that. You were just a child." His words ignited the embers of anger and pain that I had stifled for so long. "You don't understand," I shouted, tears spilling down my cheeks. "I was supposed to protect them. I was supposed to save them." Robert stepped closer, his presence encasing me in a cocoon of necessary comfort. "But they're gone, and you can't save them now. You have to focus on today, on us. That's what matters." But the void of my past opened wide, and I could feel the sinister shadows swirling within, beckoning me to succumb to the darkness once more. "I can't lose you too," I cried, my voice cracking, raw with the fear that tormented me. "Then don't fight against it with me," he pleaded, his eyes searching mine as if he could reach into the depths of my soul. And in that moment, a glimmer of understanding passed between us, but it felt fragile. We were two souls intertwined yet fraught with the past's contradictions, desperately hoping to navigate the empty spaces between us. Just as I decided to reach for that flicker of hope, the sharp hum of my phone shattered the fragile atmosphere. An unexpected call from an unknown number. Hesitant, I answered, dread swirling in my core. Someone's digging into your past, a voice said, chillingly familiar. They're hungry for more than just stories. You need to watch your back. The shadows are closing in, and you don't have much time left. As the call ended abruptly, I felt the cold fingers of fear wrap tightly around my heart. The walls of the abyss were closing in, ready to consume us both. I turned to Robert, horror etched across my features. Robert, I don't know what to do. I whimpered, and in that moment, I realized that the veil of our love was suddenly teetering on the edge of a cliff, threatened by a darkness that wouldn't rest until the truth was unearthed. Would our love stand against this onslaught, or was it fated to shatter amidst the chaos? The weight of the collapsing shadows pressed down on me, and I finally grasped that confronting my past wasn't merely a choice. It was now a fight for our future, and one that had become dangerously intertwined with Robert's heart. With trembling fingers, I hung up the phone, my heart racing as dread mingled with disbelief. The walls of my apartment felt like they were closing in, the shadows outside the window retracting away from the diminishing light. Robert's gaze bore into me, a mixture of concern and confusion clouding his features as my body started to tremble. Who was that? He asked, stepping closer as if he could dispel the darkness encircling me. I struggled to retrieve my voice, fumbling through the storm brewing within. Someone knows about my past, I managed to say at last. The vulnerability poured out of me, matching the way tears streamed down my face like liquid grief. They said the shadows are closing and we don't have much time. His expression hardened for a moment, yet I could see a storm of emotions brewing beneath the surface. Then we push back, he declared fiercely, his hand reaching for mine. We'll protect what we've built together, starting right now. But I could feel the certainty fading. The walls were already beginning to narrow around us, closing in on the truth I had fought so hard to shield from the world. I don't want you to suffer because of my past, I pleaded, my voice shaky. If they're looking for me, it won't end well. This isn't just about you anymore, he countered, determination lacing his words. It's about us. I won't let them tear us apart. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the more I embraced hope, the more perilous our situation became. I felt like a hollow shell, teetering on the brink of jagged cliffs of despair, and every breath threatened to plunge me deeper into an abyss I wasn't sure I could escape. You don't know what they want, I whispered, suddenly overwhelmed by a crushing sense of guilt and pain. They want the truth, Robert. About my family. About me. He squeezed my hand, grounding me amid the chaos. Then we get ahead of this. We find out what they know before it's too late. What if it's too late already? I countered, anxiety coiling in my gut. What if facing my past only brings more danger to you? He didn't answer right away. Instead, his eyes narrowed, as if trying to decipher the unreadable depths of my fear. Then we go together. We can't fight this alone. For a fleeting moment, I allowed myself to envision a world where shadows didn't threaten us, where secrets lay dormant, and laughter filled the air with unbroken frames. But deep down, I knew the truth was always lurking, waiting for its day to rise like dawn creeping across the horizon. As we hastily devised a plan to dig into the mysterious figure behind the call, our focus shifted from fear to action. The adrenaline pulsed through me, igniting a flicker of determination against the dark tide of uncertainty. But deep down, that flicker felt unbearably fragile. In the days that followed, we delved into my past with renewed urgency, poring over old contacts and errant notes, hoping to find any sign of the truth. We pored over dusty boxes filled with remnants of lives once lived, crumpled letters adorned with fading ink, fragmented photographs, and remnants of memories half remembered. Each item we unearthed laid bare the fragments of a life I had tried to forget. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows in our dimly lit apartment, a small sliver of hope emerged. A name buried deep within the layers of history, a former friend of my parents who had committed to an unspeakable secret. Maybe they know what happened that night, Robert suggested, the revelation morphing into anticipation. If we can find them, it might lead us to the truth. I nodded, heart pounding at the thought of confronting my past, yet aware that facing it might also dredge up unbearable pain. But it was a risk I was willing to take if it meant protecting Robert, protecting what we had forged amidst the despair. Yet as we embarked on the journey, moments of fears fluttered into our lives like dark clouds. Each step forward was shadowed by uncertainty. Whispers of hidden truths twisted into nightmares, and late-night phone calls from an unknown number continued to rattle my resolve. One evening, when exhaustion threatened to pull me under, a knock at the door sent my heart racing. Robert glanced at me, apprehension dripping from his brow, and I found myself hesitating to answer. As the door creaked open, a figure cloaked in shadows stepped inside before I could even speak. "You're playing with fire," hisses a voice wrapped in mystery. "You think you can walk away from your past? It doesn't work that way." I recoiled, sensing the danger radiating from the figure, as Robert positioned himself protectively in front of me. "Who are you?" he demanded, the steady tone of a warrior prepared for battle. "Someone who knows more than you think," the figure replied, a smirk haunting their lips. "And someone who knows you're running out of time. If you don't uncover the truth, it won't just be your past chasing you. You'll lose everything you've worked for." As those words settled upon us like molten lead, despair gripped my heart. Would my past truly rise up to consume the fragile world we had built together? The walls started to close in again, reality sinking in, time was running out, the shadows began to swirl around me once more, and I could feel my breath quickening as the fabric of my new life hung precariously on the edge of the knife. There were secrets yet to be unveiled, dangers lurking just beyond the threshold, and as I stood there, frozen in fear, I could hear the relentless ticking of a clock, the echo of the choices still waiting to be made. I stepped back, my heart racing, a new vision of hopelessness claiming me. What if this darkness swallowed everything whole? Would I have the strength to fight, or would I fall, unearthed and unprotected, into the unknown? The night wore on, heavy and foreboding, as the figure standing at our doorway reveled in our shocked silence. The air thickened with tension, my heart pounding against my ribcage like a caged bird desperate to escape. In the dim light, I could make out the stranger's features, a tight-lipped smile and eyes that flickered with an intensity that sent an icy shiver down my spine. Robert stood firm, his body a wall of protectiveness, but even he seemed unsettled by the enigmatic presence. "You're not telling us anything," he snapped, his voice fierce, though it trembled at the edges. "Ah, but I am," the figure replied, strolling with unhurried ease into our apartment as if they owned the place. "I'm here to help if you can handle the truth." I glanced around, suddenly feeling like prey in a trap. "What do you know about my past?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The figure tilted their head slightly, a mockery of curiosity. "You act like it's not the most thrilling story of them all. There's a reason shadows won't leave your doorstep, and it has everything to do with the lives intertwined with yours like threads in a tattered fabric." That metaphor stung. I felt the weight of my family's secrets bearing down on me, tugging at the torn edges of my memory. "You think playing games with me will help?" My defiance was shaky, but I refused to be completely cowed. They leaned against the wall, their posture relaxed while I felt like a coiled spring. "Your past has teeth, and it bites, darling. You can appease it with revelations, or it will come gnashing for what it wants." "Enough riddles," Robert said, stepping forward with an urgency that surprised me. "Tell us what you want." The figure's smirk deepened, and I saw a flash of something dark in their eyes, a glint that seemed to revel in chaos. "I want nothing except to witness how you both navigate the minefield you've stepped into. After all, there are fates far worse than knowing the truth." At that moment, a flicker of defiance ignited within me. "You may think you're in control of the game, but we're not afraid of what's hiding in the shadows. We're fighting for our lives." "Ah, but aren't you?" They mused, gaze piercing as if peeling back layers of my defenses. "The moment you decided to dig into your past, you set alight the very threads you hoped to snuff out." Heavy with implication, their words hung in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. Had Robert and I unwittingly awakened forces beyond our control? I shared a glance with him. His expression was a mirror of my own fears. "Enough!" I shouted, the command ringing out stronger than I felt inside. "Well, find out what we need to know on our own. We don't need your help." The figure held my gaze, wavering yet resolute, as if they saw the truth I had yet to grasp. Suit yourselves. But know this, they won't stop until they get what they want. It may very well begin with you. As they strolled back towards the door, Robert moved to follow them, but I grasped his arm with urgency. Don't. It's a trap. They're playing with us. With that statement, the door swung shut, isolating us in the heavy silence of our apartment. I felt uncertainty grip me anew, like a vice around my chest. What just happened? I asked, trembling, my mind racing from one baffling thought to another. Someone knows something, Robert replied, though even he seemed shaken. Or they're pretending to. He turned to me, worry etched deep into the lines of his face. We have to act fast before they decide to play their hand. Do you think they're working alone? Each question sent chills down my spine. My mind flashed to all the half-remembered stories shared around muted dinner, snatches of voices too quiet for me to grasp completely. In that moment, my past became not just a haunting shadow but an insatiable beast that clawed at the edges of my consciousness, desperate to be unleashed. This just confirmed what I feared, I admitted, tears threatening to spill again. I was tired of fear ruling my heart. The very sentiment that had propelled me into the safety of Robert's arms felt so delicate now. Maybe I should have never dug into this. What if it truly unravels everything? Robert's expression softened as he drew closer, wrapping his arms around me and pulling me against his chest. No. We're in this together, remember? We can't turn back now. We owe it to ourselves to confront this, even if it means reckoning with pain. As I melted into his embrace, a warmth flared up, yet a stark reality loomed over us both. Our world felt like a fragile kite caught in a tempest, spinning into uncertainty. I questioned whether the bond we shared was strong enough to transcend the tidal wave of truths waiting to break upon us, and then, just as I dared to breathe in the momentary comfort of his presence, my phone buzzed violently on the table. The screen lit up, revealing yet another unknown number. Fear settled in my stomach, thick and bitter as I met Robert's concerned gaze. Do you want me to answer it? He asked hesitantly, but even he could sense the gravity weighing on us. No, I said quickly, but a thought inspired urgency. Let me. Regaining my footing, I seized the device and swiped to answer, my heart thudding steadily in my ears. Hello? There was a brief moment of silence before an unrecognizable voice broke through, sharp and unnerving. I know where you are, and your time is almost up. You've made a choice, but is it the right one? Then the line went dead, leaving an echoing buzz in my ear and a chill that cascaded down my spine. Who was that? Robert asked, his voice steadied but filled with concern. The question hung in the air, unanswered. I felt the walls around us begin to close in once more, a suffocating burden of uncertainty trailing in their wake. Would I dare to unravel my past when it threatened not just me but everything I held dear? In the silence between us, the enormity of the decision weighed heavily, and for the first time, I wondered if the shadows were indeed calling my name and what price it would demand for silence. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow over the apartment as silence draped around us, creating a cocoon thick with dread. I held the phone tightly, the chill of the ominous voice still lingering in my mind. My heart raced with fear, and guilt threatened to suffocate me. I had opened Pandora's box, and now shadows swirled around us, ready to claim the pieces of my life I thought I'd sealed away. Who was that? Robert's voice pierced through my tangled thoughts, and I felt the weight of his gaze resting on my forehead, searching for answers. I swallowed hard, the lump in my throat constricting, as I struggled to find my voice. I wanted to lie, to shield him from this vortex, but in this moment of vulnerability, honesty felt like the only way out. That I don't know. Just someone threatening me again, I whispered, my voice cracking under the strain of uncertainty. The truth clawed at my chest, an unspeakable weight that felt so insurmountable. It's always someone. Someone who knows my past. That a flicker of anger ignited in Robert's eyes as he stood a little taller, his unwavering presence radiating fierce protectiveness. We won't let them control us. I swear on everything that matters. Well, find out who they are and what they want. But beneath his fierce exterior, I sensed a tremor of fear of losing me to the ghosts that haunted my world and seeped into ours. As the silence deepened, the shadows continued to creep in, weaving around us like a heavy mist. I gazed into his eyes, searching for solace in the storm. What if I can't face what they want? What if my past consumes us both? Robert stepped closer, cupping my face gently in his hands. You're stronger than you think. And I'm not going anywhere. Well, light the way through the darkness. His words, meant to comfort me, felt like a battle cry against the inevitability that pressed against our lives. But the truth, I began, but he interrupted me. It's ours to own. We won't allow it to unravel us. I promised. As I leaned into his warmth, the edge of hope began to shimmer faintly, barely illuminating the impending shadows. With renewed determination, we began plotting our next moves. The message from that mysterious figure echoed in my mind, a relentless reminder that the truth we sought had power, but so did the love we were forging. Would I have the courage to confront my past and face the darkness steadily encroaching upon us? My heart clenched, knowing the revelations ahead could make or break us. In the days that followed, we met with my former neighbor, an elderly lady who had seen glimpses of everything that happened back when my world fell apart. Her cottage, bursting with wildflowers and memories alike, had the aura of a hidden sanctuary. I wish I had the courage back then to speak up, she began, her voice trembled, weighted with unburdened remorse. There are truths that need to be unveiled. Each sentence she uttered carried decades of haunted memories, twisting like thorns around my heart. But Robert held my hand as if it were an unspoken promise, a commitment that we would navigate this murky path together. The shadows began to dance dangerously around us, more vivid with every word spoken. Each revelation unearthed another layer of my past. But amongst the turmoil, I noticed something else taking form, clarity reeling in from the shards of heartbreak crafted by losses we'd faced together. I realized that this was no mere confrontation with my past, it was a calling to rewrite the narrative that had defined me for so long. My heart answered in stark courage, allowing a flicker of light to break through the chasms that threatened to drown us. Days turned into hours spent uncovering hidden truths, disclosing ancient whispers woven into dusty corners of my childhood, things I had tried desperately to ignore for far too long. Each memory marked a step toward reclamation, enabling necessity to rise from the ashes of despair. Finally, one quiet evening, as the sun settled against the horizon, painting the world in shades of honey and crimson, something shifted. A moment flickered in the air, pulsing with a sense of resolution. A chance meeting brought forth unexpected stories, leading us closer to the core of the truth that had chained me for years. Your family had debts to pay, their secrets became a shroud, the elderly lady recounted as I sat, absorbing her every word. But you gained something precious in exchange. What do you mean? I asked, fear giving way to curiosity. The bonds of truth had the power to shatter everything, even walls they erected to keep it hidden. Your resilience protected you, even as they tried to bury you with their choices. Each word felt like the final threads pulling together, revealing a picture I wasn't prepared for, the depth of sacrifice intertwined with the emotions locked within. Robert's fingers squeezed mine, providing strength as I battled with revelations that unraveled at my feet. My family hadn't just left me, they had cared more about my future than their own. They loved you so fiercely it doesn't justify their choices, but their truths are yours to reclaim too. Suddenly, inexplicably, clarity flooded through me, crushing the shadows lingering in the corners of my mind. I understood then that it wasn't merely about facing the past, it was about threading hope into our future. I found myself standing fiercely at the threshold of the choices ahead, and in that moment, against the backdrop of vivid dreams drifting like wisps of cloud, I turned to Robert. My heart raced, filled with a fierce energy I hadn't felt before, and I reached out for his hand with every piece of my being. And the shadows began to fade. Whatever we face, I choose you. I choose our love against the chaos that swirls around us, I declared earnestly, feeling the power shift, creating a foundation stronger than fear. We can weather this storm together, and for the first time since this ordeal began, I felt the weight of my burden lift, translating into something miraculously profound. The truth, the vibrant tapestry of my life, intricately woven with pieces I had carried alone for too long, began to unfurl and heal, bringing us closer together than I ever thought possible. We were meant to create a new narrative, one marked by hope instead of fear, then we move forward," Robert said, determination soaring in his voice. Hand in hand, into whatever comes next. As we clasped hands, a new resolve floated through the air, a promise forged not just in love, but in the knowledge that love was ultimately the fiercest light against the darkest of shadows. I felt as if every thread of our stories intertwined, forging a new understanding, a transformative end that somehow didn't feel like an end at all but rather a beginning rife with possibility. And just as I began to feel the impending warmth of dawn rising beyond the horizon, my phone buzzed one last to me, a message that brought my heart full circle. "The truth may be your weapon, but it's love that'll shield you. You've made a choice." With that, I smiled, knowing that no matter what shadows may linger, we were already rewriting our story. These moments of darkness could never extinguish the light of love that lit our way, burning fiercely through every uncertainty. As I locked eyes with Robert, the words spilled forth, the sun illuminated the room like hope breaking through, and I whispered with intention, "Together, we can't just survive, we'll thrive." In that moment, surrounded by the remnants of my past and the ember of our shared future, I knew that love had indeed found us, and together we would rise, stronger and unyielding against anything that dared to compromise the unbreakable bond we forged, and with our hands entwined, we stepped into the light. Ready for whatever the future held, ready to embrace not merely the truth, but each other, side by side as we rewrote the script of our lives. "Together," I whispered again, feeling the weight of every fragile hope brighten in the glow of the new dawn. It was not just an end, not just a choice, it was everything.